Hi folks, welcome to another episode of Handicapped Not Helpless. I'm Dan and this is my dog Miss Daisy. And she's a service dog, and that's what the subject of this video is going to be about today. Over the years I've been asked a lot of questions about what a service dog is and other questions that I decided to put on this video now. So the first thing, a service dog is a dog that's been thoroughly trained. With the socialization training and the specialization training. And another question I get is, can a service dog be a therapy dog? Well, the short answer is no, because a service dog is trained specifically to the person that they're with, and they're trained to do a specific thing for that person. Whereas a therapy dog is trained in socialization training so that they know how to behave themselves and not make a mess on the floor and so forth. And they're also trained to allow other people to pet them and to, without biting them if they pull an ear or something, like a little kid that's sick in a hospital or something. An emotional support dog is basically a dog that helps one individual, but they don't have the same rights and access as either a service dog or a therapy dog, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But some people have asked, is it legal for them to train a therapy dog themselves? And the answer is yes. And some people will have it professionally trained because it needs socialization training. But you can train it yourself. But before you're able to take a therapy dog and use it for that, you and the dog actually will have to be tested by a qualified person, because they got to make sure that the dog isn't going to bite somebody if they accidentally pull the ear or punch them in the eye or something like that. They have to be pretty docile, and they're trained to let a lot of different people pet them rather than being just a one-person dog like a service dog is. So the answer to that, yes, you can train your own dog. How long does it take to train a service dog? It depends on the dog, it depends on the person, the disability, it depends on the trainer, but usually going to take between 18 and 24 months to get a dog to where it is trained for full access, and full access in quotes, which would be a service dog. If, for instance, a dog is going to be used only at the house for a person who's blind, or maybe a person who's deaf, if they're going to be used only in those instances, the dog don't have to have any sort of training, as in socialization and so forth, because he's not going to be going outside. And so they're considered a pet, and so they don't have any of the access permits that service dog has, or a therapy dog for that matter. What's the penalty for faking a service dog? That's my favorite question. An owner of a dog claiming it to be a service dog when it's not, you can face up to $1,000 fine and up to 6 months in jail. That can be and or. So, in other words, $1,000 fine and or 6 months in jail, up to 6 months in jail. So it's not worth it. Okay, another question I get is, why shouldn't you pet a service dog? Well, I think I might have touched on that a little bit. One reason is because of distracting the dog. Now, some people might let you pet their dog. I've been guilty of that myself a few times with a few people. It depends on who they are, what the situation is. Depends on what kind of a day I've had. Sometimes I just want to get my milk and bread and go home. Depends on what kind of a day the dog has had and who the person is. So there's a lot of variables. But the quick answer is no, you can't pet the dog because it's distracting to the dog. And the fact is that if you distract a service dog intentionally and the dog misses a cue from the owner, from the handler, a medical cue, and then that handler has a seizure or a heart attack or whatever, and it was caused directly because you were distracting the dog, then you could actually be held liable legally, criminally and civilly. So that certainly isn't worth that. If something happens to the handler because you're distracting the dog, it's your fault. And so you know the lawyer's going to be lined up around the block, so don't do it. It ain't worth it. And I hear whistles, and I hear kissy things like that. Don't do that. You're distracting the dog from what? My dog. Miss Daisy. I wasn't calling you, but okay. And that can be bad for everybody. So don't do it. And especially just think if a person is blind and their dog is a seeing eye dog, and that person that can't see walks into some kind of trouble and hurts themselves, and that can really end up bad. It's going to end up bad for you too. Another question is, can they ask you what your service dog does? And the answer to that is yes. A business can. An individual, you can just tell them it ain't none of their business. But a business has the right to ask you, especially if you don't have a vest on the dog, and you can ask, is it a service dog, and what service that dog performs. They can't ask you anything about your health, no health questions. They can't ask you to have the dog perform any kind of it's not a circus dog, it's a service dog. Does a service dog need to be registered, certified, any of that thing? Well, there's no federal registry for a service dog. But there are a lot of people who choose to register their dog. Miss Daisy's registered, and she's registered at my local courthouse as a service dog. Like I said, there's no national registry for. Now there are people that goes online and you can buy a service dog vest and a little card that says it's some sort of a permit or certificate or license or something, which is garbage because it don't exist. And you want to pay $100 for that and then turn around and have a fake service animal. Remember the fine up above, $1,000, 6 months in jail. You want to pay $100 to get that? You go ahead. But I'll tell you now, restaurants and things like that, they're getting wise to that, and they realize, because it's been happening so much that they just checked into it. And I'm glad to say that the local Walmart here and the local mall had a big problem with it. And it looked like a dog pound there sometimes. I've seen as many as 5, 6 dogs all over that store barking and carrying on, peeing and everything. But they've cut down on that. They've learned the rules and laws regarding service animals, and I'm glad to see that. And so there was an incident a couple of weeks ago where I was at Walmart, and a guy came by with a German Shepherd, and obviously not trained. They was tugging at the leash, and as soon as they seen my dog, he started barking and just going nuts. Well, we just calmly walked on past him, and dog just barking like he lost his mind. And so I'm probably pretty sure that that dog would be coming back to Walmart. What rights do service dogs have? One of the ADA mandates that the service dogs have full access to any place that I can go, my dog can go, except for an operating room. If they're going to operate on me or something like that, of course they can't do that. But if I go into a restaurant, or if I go to a movie theater, I can go to on an airplane. And I mean, for instance, if you go to a restaurant, there is one caveat. You can't feed your dog in a restaurant. Now, there's no ADA law saying, as far as I know, and I should always check on it, that says you can't feed the dog in a restaurant, but the restaurant has to be held to certain health code standards. And I'm sure that it would be against the health codes for a dog to eat in a restaurant or any other animal. Okay, it just is. So if you see a dog eating in a restaurant, then there's a problem there. Either ask before, would you like a little tray for your, whatever you call it, a styrofoam thing for, no, because, and I would inform them, it's against health codes to feed an animal in a restaurant. They'll shut you down if you do it continuously, So that's that, answer that question. As far as a therapy dog is concerned, that's kind of the middle tier, because they are allowed in hospitals and in rest at homes and even schools or like that, if they have permission from the school, hospital, nursing home, etc. So that's kind of the middle tier. They have the option, the hospital and so forth has the option to tell you no. And there's no law that says that they have to allow them. Now, the top of the pier is the service dog. It don't matter whether it's a hospital or a restaurant, movie theater, an airplane, whatever. They have to allow your dog on a plane with you. Now, some airlines will have a rule that you either have to hold the animal in your lap or it has to be at your feet. And believe it or not, a miniature horse can be a service animal, and I don't get that, but okay. So punch that little red button right down there, the one that says subscribe. That would help this channel out a whole lot. So Dan and Miss Daisy, handicapped and not helpless, till the next time, thanks for watching.